Today is my 111th birthday.
Okay, today is not my 111th birthday, but it is my 54th birthday. And on my 54th birthday, I want to share with you a special presentation I made about the danger of self-discipline. And why I'm talking about this is because this affects teams and it affects us as individuals. You know, pushing seldom works. I think we can see that when we look around our society. I don't think it's a secret to anybody, but maybe you wonder why. Maybe you just think that's not my style. That doesn't really work for me. I'm not into that vibe. Whatever it is, I want to show you a couple things that I learned myself along the way and something that's transforming the thinking of a lot of people. So if you're a leader or a follower, it doesn't matter. We need to talk very quickly about self-discipline. It sounds easy, doesn't it? If you just get up early and you go running in the rain, you get up at 5 a.m. or whatever, you make that 100 calls a day on the job. I mean, there's a premise and a promise here. And the premise and the promise is if you do the work, you'll get the reward. And once you get the reward, you'll feel motivated and you'll be encouraged to do more of the work. Sound pretty common, right? Except for most people, that doesn't work. In fact, it seldom works. If you look at New Year's Eve resolutions, New Year's resolutions we do as a country, only about 9% of the people say that they actually fulfill those by the end of that year. We've got high levels of burnout. Obesity is at a crisis. So is mental health right now at a crisis level. Lots of stress out there for all kinds of reasons. Work-life balance, we're very challenged in that area. It seems like we know what we need to do, but we lack the motivation. And that's why we're talking about this, because what I stumbled over in my own life after being a guy for decades who's type A, set his goals, went out and crushed things, did all this stuff, but lived with high levels of cortisol and stress and burnout, I figured there had to be a better way to get motivated. Well, why does it work for some people, but not for all? It's because people are different, right? There are various motivators and various triggers for different types of people. And when I talk about different types of people, obviously we have a lot of different personality types out there, but I'm not talking about personality types. I kind of see the world in three different types, and I'm going to share with you right now. The first are the physical types. These are the people that love self-discipline. These are the people that believe in things like exercise. They might say their body is a temple. They may be very kinesthetic. They may also be into going outdoors and doing a lot of outdoor activities, no matter the weather. Stoicism, self-denial, these are things they're into, and they really value doing because they're the doers of the world. And if you're one of those people, I'm not here to criticize you. If you can every day set goals and crush those goals and keep yourself motivated and listen to music and still drink beer at the same time, you have my respect. For the rest of us is why I made this. The other second type of people and energy, by the way, notice these aren't just people types. This is energy types. There's a physical energy, then there's a mental energy type. They're intellectually focused. These are the people who love to think and plan before they do anything. They may be researchers, analysts in the way that they do their jobs and the way they function. And they value strategy before tactics. So where that physical person is out there just executing away, this person wants to sit down and come up with a plan before they do it. Now, one place that you see this show up that isn't so much about goals and meeting and achievement is just going on vacation. Usually two people are married or they're a couple and they decide to go on vacation. And one of those people is like, whatever. And the other's like, we got to plan every day and we got to have an itinerary, right? And so if you're the itinerary type person, or you like having a to-do list, you like having your calendar, you run by that technology, etc., you may be the more mental type of energy, and that's totally fine because you value having, you want to have information, you want to have an understanding, you want to have a grasp of things before you just fire off at the hip. The final type are the spiritual types. Now, this doesn't mean they're better than everybody else. Please don't misunderstand this. I'm not talking about religious. I'm talking about spiritual. They live from spiritual energy. They really run from their heart, their gut, and their intuition. They kind of approach life a little bit differently. They seek harmony, or they seek alignment with other people and with organizations and with causes that line up with theirs. A lot of times they're kind of earmarked by people who really talk about the fact that they want to help other people, and they do things to try to help other people. It may not look outwardly like they're influencers or whatever. Remember, not all influencers are really trying to help people, but these heart people, these spiritual people have a strong desire to help others. And their value is not the doing or the having, it's the being. They understand that presence for them is more than anything at all. And you hear a lot of people talk about presence today, but they don't understand that different people don't feel about presence or think about presence in the way that spiritual people do. So you got three types of people: physical, mental, spiritual. One size doesn't fit all. So we've got these different motivators and triggers. The premise and the promise are themselves a little bit broken for most people. And here's why. It takes an enormous amount of energy to sustain going and crushing my goals all the time so that I stay motivated. Like, I'm just going to be completely transparent here. If you tell me the way to be my fittest ever is that I have to get up like 45 minutes or an hour earlier than I have to, and I've got to go out in the worst weather or travel across town to go to a gym or whatever, it's not going to happen. You understand? That's not a motivator for me. If it's a motivator for you, again, no insult, no shade. It just doesn't work for me. So what I'm showing is that if you tell a lot of us, maybe about 80% of us, hey, do the work, you'll get the reward, and then you'll receive that motivation, it doesn't work. Half the time we don't even get the reward. This is why people do not follow through on their New Year's resolutions, because they try and it gets hard and they're like, there's no reward in this. It sucks right now. Certain people love that suckiness. The rest of the world doesn't. Let me tell you about what I found, which is what I call autopilot success. And yeah, I know this is going to sound a little bit like snake oil when I first introduce it, but imagine for a moment that you could live your life, achieve goals, but be completely stress-free, happy, joyful, spend plenty of time with your family, and not have to get up at butt crack dawn to do every little thing. This is what I found. This is the graph that my brain understands, and I want to share it with you. How does this work? Let's start at the top down. Our actions come from our mindsets, and our mindsets are kind of this muddy thing that's part feeling, part thought, and part beliefs. So don't get hung up too much on mindset, even though it's a popular term, because the way this really works is that even though the mindset is made up of the feelings and thoughts and beliefs, we're kind of linear in a lot of ways. Our feelings come from our thoughts, and our thoughts come from our beliefs. Okay? So everything starts at the base and moves upwards. That means if we change our beliefs, then we change our thinking. If we change our thinking, we change how we feel. When we change how we feel, we change how we act. Has it ever dawned on you that you do 99% of what you do because you feel like it? And I don't mean that like in a teenage, I just felt like it. I mean, you do what you do because you have a desire to do it. You feel like doing it. You think you want to do it. So for you, me, and everybody else that's norm and is not that super physical type that wants to go run naked in the woods at 4 a.m., we need to get into our belief system. Because if we change how we feel, it changes how we act, and how we act sends that feedback loop back, reinforcing our new beliefs and helping us see the world in a completely different way, which is much less stressful, easier to work in, and easier to run in. So let me talk about my story really quick. My story is all about the root and not the fruit. You see, I grew up a hyper-religious person. I went to school to be a preacher, and everything was focused on outward. It was focused on the symptom. It was focused on the activity. It was very much self-denial and rigorous work on self, just a lot of self-discipline stuff mixed in with that version of Christianity. And what I found was, really, that's great. There's nothing wrong in the short term with some self-discipline. We all use it probably every day, but I had some limiting beliefs. And once I started debunking and reprogramming those limiting beliefs, my life took off. My motivation exploded and has never let off. Now, I didn't put all my limiting beliefs on here because we don't have enough time for that, but these are the biggies for me. Scarcity, competition, thinking I was in competition with other people. I got how many likes, how many, nope, no more competition for me. I'm not even competing with myself. I'm just trying to be authentically me and trying to help people, which is a little something we could talk about later. Imposter syndrome. Anybody feel me on this one? That sometimes we feel like we do not belong here, right? That's imposter syndrome. And the final one is victimhood. And what do I mean by that? So I want to be very sensitive here and very quickly say that I have not experienced the trauma that maybe you have, but I had a mindset. I had an ideology that the world was against me, that I wasn't getting any great breaks, that things were never going my way. I was just, it was a victimhood mentality. And that's why I bring that up. That was one of my limiting beliefs. So when I really started digging into those limiting beliefs and realizing that they by and large were not true, they were inaccurate, they weren't absolutely true in every situation. When those started changing, my thoughts about myself and about life started changing, and my feelings about myself and about life and about other people started changing. And that meant my actions began to change. And that created a feedback loop that came back to my beliefs and went, wow, I could have had a V8. I didn't know life could be this easy. I'm here to tell you life can be this easy if you want it to be. Now, if you're the hardcore type and you want to go rucking this weekend, 90 miles with 60 pounds on your back, I'm not against you. I have no shade to throw at you, brother or sister. What I'm saying is for the rest of us who need some hacks to figure out how do we live an easy life and get the stress down, this is it. Work on limiting beliefs. I don't think I've ever met anybody that doesn't have some limiting beliefs. If you don't have any, you're amazing and you've done some work on yourself, because everything from religion to education to our society, political programming, I mean, it's all there. I'm not talking about brainwashing. I'm talking about programming in beliefs that are not very healthy for us and don't serve us very well at all. So what do we do with this in conclusion? Well, I would say self-discipline is neither good nor bad. It does motivate some people. There's no doubt about that, but not everybody's motivated by it. It probably doesn't contribute to long-term achievement for most people. That's the major qualm I have right there. I'm looking for long-term motivation. I want to get that my 737 or whatever I am of a life up in the air, and I want to put autopilot on and go grab some drinks and some chips and not have to be, white knuckling life the whole time. I white knuckled life for decades. No more. I will not live that kind of life anymore. Subconscious beliefs may undermine efforts. I'm probably being too nice there. Your subconscious is running your life right now. Your unconscious mind controls 99% of your actions. The reason you got mad today, the reason you're frustrated right now, the reason you may feel sad or fearful is all based in your unconscious mind. And you're saying to me, no, Jonathan, you don't understand. I'm going through it right now. I'm not saying you're not going through it. I'm trying to tell you that in your unconscious mind, you have been programmed to say that things that probably shouldn't matter way too much. So I think the big thing to know is whatever works for us is the key. If self-discipline works for you, bingo, love you for it. Keep going. For the rest of us, I want to encourage you to start looking at your core beliefs. Start identifying, what do I believe about money, about God, about myself, about the universe, about other people, about careers, about capitalism versus socialism. Like, take everything, because you would be surprised once you start going through your limiting beliefs or your belief system, how many of them are based on false realities that we were all just told, this is the way it is. I feel like every day I find something else that was programmed into me that's not actually reality. So my encouragement to you is, if you want motivation that never ends, you can use self-discipline as a hack. I use it all the time. I got to go carry in firewood. That's a little bit of self-discipline. But the motivation that continues doesn't have to be something I force on myself. It's something that comes from inside my identity and who I really am and who I was created to be and who I want to show up to be when I get my limiting beliefs out of the way, which changes my thinking and my feelings and therefore my actions. I hope this helps. If it does, please follow me. Please share this around, because I'm here to encourage other people.